Now, I'm a bit of a Bond fan, and this week I was Googling for the release date of the next Bond film, but that reminded me that I'd written an article when the last one, Spectre, came out. So I dug out my notes and read them through, and I thought to myself, well, this is pretty useful and pretty timeless stuff, and well worth sharing with you on the podcast. So in this episode, we're going to delve into the realm of your inner Spectre, and I'm going to give you a number of powerful questions to ask yourself that will help you reveal and expose the organised shadow aspects of you, that may be sabotaging your dreams, your happiness, and your progress in life. Well, how many questions, you ask? Well, 007, of course. But, I'm not just going to leave you hanging with the insights. I'm also going to share how you can work on your insights so you can get your own big release. See what I did there? I'm on one today. So stay with me and let's dive in. Hit it, Kim.
Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast. You're in the right place if you're a growth-seeking being who acknowledges the challenges and delights of your humanity on the path to an ever more conscious life. If you want to feel inspired to love and accept yourself, to feel free to be and express you in all your brilliance, if you want to truly value yourself and others and feel energized and alive both at home and in the world, then sit back and take a breath as you explore and grow the brilliance of your beautiful human self with your host, the father of non-personal awareness and creator of the MPA process, Joel Young.
Hello, and welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. I am so delighted that you're here. We are up to episode number 95, which means you can find the show notes at www.beabrillianthuman.com/95. And that also means there's 94 previous episodes. If you're brand new, oh my lord, have I got a binge invitation for you. If you have been listening for a while, you'll know that probably around episode 70-ish, I had someone get in touch with me who said that she'd been binge watching right from the beginning. I had a huge admiration from her, and she got a lot from it, so I recommend it from you to you. In fact, if you're new, go back, start from the beginning, listen to them all. And if you're back for more, I love you. I love that you're here. I love that I get to be in your ears every week. What a privilege. And yeah, we're going to have some fun today. Oh, that reminds me, episode 95, that means we're only a few episodes away from our 100th episode. And I want to make it a celebration and really sort of pinpoint some of the episodes that have been sort of the most popular, I guess. And I'd love to hear from you. If you've had, if you've been listening for a while and you've listened to a particular episode, and you don't have to have listened to them all, just if you've been listening to 5 episodes and one of those was your favourite, let me know, get in touch. You can do that directly through the website, which is www.beabrillianthuman.com. And there's a little button there that says leave me a message. You can leave me a voice message there. And if it's all right with you, I can even put you on the show. Would you like to appear on the show? Leave me a message. I can make it happen. Or you can do it by other means. If you want to email me, you can email me joel@nonpersonalawareness.com. Or you can find me through social media, Joel at non-personal awareness. I'm giving you my email twice. My inner Spectre at work today. What was I saying? Social, yes, at Joel Young MPA for the most part. Places like Instagram and Twitter. If you're on Facebook, come find me at /MPA Rocks after the facebook.com bit. And there's always a post, each week as I announce the episodes. Any of those posts, you can just leave a comment or use those wonderful PMs, DMs, whatever you call them. Get in touch, just let me know. I'd love to know, do you have a favourite or a set of favourite episodes from our previous episodes? I'd love to know, why you like those ones so much. What touched you? Has it impacted your life? I'd love to hear from you, so do let me know. And also today, I said I'm not going to leave you hanging with the insights. We've got 007, amazing questions for you, and also a way to sort of work with the answers that come up. And that way is going to be MPA. So if you're new, you're probably going, what the heck is MPA? It's a simple 6-line spoken word process, and you can get it for free. You just need to you can go to the show notes for today, you can go to joelyoungmpa.com, which is the main website. There'll be buttons all over the place that say download the process for free. Click it. Just give me an email so I know where to send it, and you can get hold of the process. And I'll be talking more about that as we go forward. All right, are you ready for some Bond? Dum 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 dum. Could not resist. You can tell the mood if you listen like a lot to this show. You know when I'm in this mood, right? Here we go. Let's get into it. So where do I begin? Well, I suppose the question is, why do we love movies so much? And of course, all those Netflix series or other platform series, which really, let's face it, they're like super long movies these days, you know, especially if you're a binge watcher. Well, it's the stories. You know, stories are the bedrock of our human experience. And the thing is, we're all subject to our personal stories, you know, whether we're conscious of it or not. You know, a couple of episodes back, in episode 93, I was talking about feeling responsible for other people's emotions. And I touched there on how stories, the stories we tell ourselves, are so much a part of how we generate, you know, the feelings that we have for ourselves and how other people generate their feelings. So, and really, in many ways, if I go back to the kind of, we're talking about movies and the Bond movie and such like, you know, we're actually like, as individuals, like a multiplex cinema complex, if that's the right word. And what I mean by that is we've got like many stories happening simultaneously. And the thing about stories is they tend to follow kind of archetypal patterns, and becoming conscious of them allows us to sort of align with our, your inner script writer. You know, we get to influence how a story or the story of our lives can run. And, you know, the most popular movies tend to follow those archetypal patterns, which makes them relatable to our own lives. And of course, before movies, well, stories have been around for the eons, right? You know, through all of the ages, from bards to books, you know, and beyond. Oh, iteration there. So I'm using the Bond film Spectre today as kind of our story. So we're going to have a look at the clues that are in the story, the archetype it follows, and why it's such a powerful jump point for some self-inquiry. Now, if you haven't yet seen the film Spectre, I should give you a spoiler alert, although probably not, because, well, it's a Bond movie, right? If you've seen one, you're going to kind of know how it goes. But here's a kind of a rough outline of Spectre the film. So, a cryptic message from Bond's past sends him on a trail to uncover a sinister organisation. Now, while M battles political forces to keep the Secret Service alive, Bond peels back the layers of deceit to reveal the terrible truth behind Spectre. And here's the big spoiler, although probably not. Bond triumphs in the end. So this is a story of uncovering the shadows of the past that still influence our lives. You could say it's an awakening story. Okay, so let's backtrack a bit. So let's have a look at what at the Spectre factor. So what does the word Spectre even mean, you may be asking? I did, and I'm being a modern guy. I Googled it. So let me get my notes, right? So this is what the English dictionary, Collins, let's give them credit. Collins English Dictionary says. So what's the meaning of spectre? Well, it's got two definitions, a ghost, a phantom, an apparition. And the one that I think is most pertinent here is a mental image of something unpleasant or menacing. So we're looking at how we're holding these unpleasant or mental image of something unpleasant or menacing inside of ourselves. And actually, the good thing about dictionaries, if you look a bit deeper, you'll find I love origins of words. Etymology, I believe, is the word they use for that. I'm laughing today. I make no apologies. It's just the mood I'm in. So the origin of the word, well, it comes from the Latin spectrum. And again, it's like it's that mental image of something unpleasant. But the thing I think about the origin spectrum, if you think about it, there's a spectrum of different stories, and if you go a little deeper into it, you can discover more about the nature of its meaning. So, if you refer to a spectre as something unpleasant, you are referring to something that you are frightened might occur. And that's the key thing. So what I'm saying is a spectre is like this image, this idea that we hold inside of ourselves. And it's usually something that gets projected and we're frightened that it's going to happen. So, in the idea of a spectre or our inner spectre, we have a past and we have a future. That's all the ingredients we need for something scary. Awesome. Okay, let's go back to Bond. So in the Bond film, the Spectre of Spectre has been visited several times. That was an irresistible pun. I do apologise for that one. So Spectre in Bond world is the name of a sinister organisation, and it's actually an acronym. And the acronym is for Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge and Extortion. Nice. So how about the spectre in you? Well, it's a natural part of the human condition that we have aspects that seek to expand and aspects that seek to control and minimize change. It's like the yin and yang, or the in-breath and out-breath, or the dark and light of life. And sometimes these minimizing parts are called, inner saboteurs or the shadow. And we're calling it, for the purposes of today's podcast, your inner spectre. But there are, many names. And don't freak out here, but here's the thing. They're organised. But here's the thing. Those expansive aspects are also highly organised. And in fact, choosing to engage in self-inquiry mode sort of leverages their awesome power. Okay, let's bring it back to you. So by now you'll have gathered that these 007 questions are going to be inviting you to delve into the more shadowy inner territory inside of you. But you can chill, because as well as an inner spectre, you also, my friend, have an inner Bond. And more good news, Bond always has his genius backroom buddy Q, who hands out awesome gizmos and makes things a lot easier for him. And in this case, I guess I'm your Q. And I'm having so much fun today, can you tell? I'm Q. I always wanted to be Q. And the gizmo I'm giving you, no, sorry, it's not an Aston Martin. It's better than an Aston Martin. It's the MPA process. Okay, so if you're not fully au fait with the MPA process, or you haven't even downloaded it yet, pause the recording now. Go download it, come back, hit the play button again. It's absolutely free. Bond never pays for these things. It's free to you. And you can find it, again, go to the show notes for today. Again, www.beabrillianthuman.com/95, or go to joelyoungmpa.com. There's links all over the place. You can download it. It's absolutely free. And I know you're up for it, Bond. Oh, I'm probably having way too much fun. I hope you're enjoying this with me. So let's get to the questions. Let's tie the strands together, uncover and release the spectre in your life. I'll take a breath and get a bit more serious now. Okay, I've taken a moment, so we're good. Because actually, seriously though, these are important questions, and we're going into the darker territory. Now the thing, it's sort of very normal actually when approaching self-inquiry to kind of clench a bit. And that's because there's a natural sort of bracing of self that happens when we approach the unknown or set about discovering things that may have been held in the shadows. Now what I found, although at first it might seem counterintuitive, especially given the subject matter, is the best way to counter this is by approaching the exercise lightly. Maybe not quite as light, although actually I was going to say not as lightly as I've been in the first half of this show. But actually there is a way that laughter can really help sort of grease the wheels of getting in touch with the darker side. So, but the way I really tend to invite you to do this is to answer the questions almost in a nonchalant manner. as if you're unattached to what comes back when you ask them. And I often say that, true self-inquiry isn't about seeking the answers. These aren't questions you have to figure out the answers to. It's more about just relaxing and letting the answers find you. So, as you ask the questions, or if you listen to the questions being asked by me, just write down whatever comes out. Again, this is something I do recommend you do as a written thing. I'll go through the questions now. They'll also be in the show notes, so you can go and do them. But I think journaling is one of the best ways to do that. And whatever comes out, even if it doesn't seem at first to make any sense, just trust it and, just let the answers fall out. And on that note, important thing about these, so these questions are designed to elicit what I call a spew response. So that's rather than a singular or distinct answer. It's like just letting the answers be an outflowing, write whatever comes. And if the answer sort of just comes to some natural completion, just move on to the next one. So I'll walk you through what to do with that. I call it a spew in MPA, and I'm going to walk you through how to use that in a moment. And another important thing is that these questions, they do presuppose the idea that you metaphorically have an inner spectre. Now, if you're not cool with that, if that doesn't feel true to you, that presupposition, don't do this exercise. It's just take care of yourself. If you're like, I don't have an inner spectre, or I don't like the idea of that, just move on. Listen to the next episode, or listen to it out of curiosity. But these are powerful questions, and if you really do it, they're going to take you deep inside. So make sure you feel comfortable before you do it. So, have I got the green light? Good. Right, so grab yourself a pen and paper, assuming you're not driving or doing something, working heavy machinery or that kind of stuff. You can do it on a notepad, maybe on a document, whatever device you're using. And I recommend that you answer these questions in order. And again, you can find them on the show notes if you want to sort of just listen through now and then at a later time go and do them as written down. So question number 1 is this. If you were to know, where in your life is your inner spectre having the biggest influence right now? If you were to know, where in your life is your inner spectre having the biggest influence right now? So the thing here is to just be still. It's not saying you need to know where it is. If no answer comes immediately, be still for a moment. That's what I mean about letting the answers find you. And whatever comes, just write it down. Again, you can pause the podcast and do the written work if you like. Okay, question number 2. Letting your mind drift back and gently caress the timeline of your life, and contemplating the notion that there are clues to your inner spectre's nature and origin, what memories, moments, or patterns pop up to you? So letting your mind drift back and gently caress the timeline of your life, and contemplating the notion that there are clues to your inner spectre's nature and origin, what memories, moments, or patterns pop out to you? And again, just take some time. Memories, they may not even make sense immediately. Just make a note of them. There might be just one. It might take a while for them to come. Or there might be a stream of memories. Just make a note of the memories so you know what they are. Question number 3. What's the scary stuff that stops you from doing what you know you ought to do for your own good? What's the scary stuff that stops you from doing what you know you ought to do for your own good? So, those times when you're supposed to do something. It's like not from a sort of I have to, but from a I know that's what's good for me. But something scary pops in your mind, some idea, some thought, some projection into the future, and you end up not doing what's good for you. Just take a moment and think about that and just let it come to you. What's the scary stuff that stops you from doing what you know you ought to do for your own good? And again, just spew it out onto the paper. Number 4, what lies do you tell yourself or have you told yourself in the past? What lies do you tell yourself or have you told yourself in the past? Now, be gentle with yourself in this one. We all tell ourselves big lies, little lies. It's called denial and it's part of being human. So it's not like you're some evil person for lying to yourself or some idiot for lying to yourself. It's part of what we do. But if you're willing to really open and let the answers to this question find you, to see where it's like an admission, it's like a radical confession to yourself. What lies do you tell yourself or have you told yourself in the past? And again, it might be a long list, might be a short list. It might just be some things that come out of you. Just write it out as a spew. Number 5. If you're ruthlessly honest, where in your life do you entertain thoughts of payback and revenge? If you're ruthlessly honest with yourself, where in your life do you entertain thoughts of payback and revenge? Now, I say ruthlessly honest because a lot of us who do personal development and spirituality and stuff like that like to think from our super ego self that we're really nice. And I'm not talking about Rambo style revenge here, but where there's an inner spectre active, remember the R in the spectre is for revenge, right? And we can do revenge in being passive aggressive, for example, is a kind of a revenge on payback. It's the subtle things that we do. So again, in the interest of revealing the energy of the inner spectre inside of you, just be really honest and gentle with yourself when you're answering this question. If you're ruthlessly honest, where in your life do you entertain thoughts of payback and revenge? Number 6. What do you fear that people might find out about you, and how does that influence your decisions? What do you fear that people might find out about you, and how does that influence your decisions? Now, this is where the shadow, the spectre in you tends to get a hold when you have these inner secrets and you're kind of afraid of them. In fact, I did an episode, I think it's episode number 32, and I'll put it into the show notes as one of our related episodes about the masks that we wear and dropping the masks and embracing the things that you perceive as flaws. But this will give you an insight if you let yourself sort of and again, you don't have to share these things. It's just between you and you. But again, there's a way when you admit these things on paper that you get super conscious about it. So what do you fear that people might find out about you, and how does that influence your decisions? And then number 7, number 007, what are the external pressures in your life and what do they suppress? So what are the external pressures in your life and what do they suppress? So that might seem like a bit of an odd question in some ways, but it's really the suppression part. Sometimes we, in a sense, in quotes, blame the external stuff for suppressing things. Now that is an action of the spectre, the inner shadow at work. So it's good to sort of make the connection between what you're saying is an external pressure and then what specifically you're saying they suppress, or you could, if you want to be super self-responsible, you suppress as a result of that story. But those will also give you insights into how the inner spectre is operating inside of you. And again, just let yourself spew out whatever wants to come out of you in response to that one. All right, that's the 7 questions. So whether you have paused it as I've gone through it and written down your answers, then hurrah, that's amazing. Or whether you've gone and you've seen the show notes and you've written it out that way. However you've done it, it's friggin' amazing. Yay you for doing that. And I hope you've got some interesting insights. And it's an amazing thing actually to really look at this stuff. I know I've been I'm just in a jovial mood today, but actually let's not minimize the impact of doing this kind of revelatory work. But then you're probably wondering now, what do I do with it all? So, let's start by taking a deep breath and we're going to do some MPA. So here's how you use what you've just done, the inquiry work and the answers that you have, to find what we call cookie cutters in MPA. So cookie cutters, if you don't know, What that really means is they're the connected keywords that, when you MPA them, when you put them inside the process, they loosen or free the grip, of what we could call your inner spectre energy. Because there's the way that energy is held inside of you is it's identified. You identify with it. You say, that's me. And as I said, we're like a multiplex. There are many stories that we identify with, both positive and, or should we say less positive, and or more sabotaging. But through the identification with them, aligning with them, saying that's me, that's how it gets to have a life within us. And the MPA process itself helps to release that identity, helps you realize that it's not you. It's not a fit. That energy is not a fit for who you are today. And that's the power of it. So I'm going to break this down in two different ways. So I'm going to give you bullet points. If you've done MPA for a long time, you know what you're doing. I'm going to give you quick bullet points to tell you how to use this. And I'm also going to give you an easy version. So if you like listening to this podcast for the first time and think, oh, what the hell, how do I do it? I'm going to give you a really simple way so that you can still get the benefit of it. You still need to download the sheet. Go to the BeABrilliantHuman.com website, go to joelyoungmpa.com, download the sheet because it's a 6-line spoken word process and you'll get the words that you need. And I'll explain that. So first up, for you MPA veterans, with your answers, I want to teach you to treat each answer as a spew and find the most animated cookie cutter. Make a list of those 7 cookie cutters. And then read the list out loud and then do an energy read to find your 8th inner spectre cookie cutter. So MPA each of those 8 cookie cutters in order, and then as an option you can do a flip for the whole sequence. Now I'll put that in the show notes because I went through that pretty quickly, but if you're an MPA veteran you know what I'm talking about. Now if you're not, you're probably going, what the hell has he just said? What does animated mean? What's a cookie cutter? What's a flip? What's an energy read? And all that stuff. Well, of course, you can get the full skinny in our core training, which is called the MPA Process Basic Training. And you'll find that in the same place where you find the sheet to download. But you don't need to know all that just to get the benefit of what you've already done on today's show. So here's what I'm going to suggest you do if you're a beginner. So again, treat each answer as a spew as per the veteran instructions. Now, if you've downloaded the sheet, there's some notes on what that means. It just means you literally look at what you've read and notice what pops out. So that way, what pops out is what you get as a keyword or a connection or a cookie cutter. And what you do with that is you put it into the blank space on the 6 lines. And then you read it all out loud, just to yourself. Out loud is good though. Just notice and allow what happens. And that's the power of the MPA process. And the other way to do it is you can read or scan through your answers. So say you've got like 3 paragraphs on question number 3. Just look at the whole of your answer. Look at it. Just take it as it is. You can read it, but just sit with it. And then I want you to just complete this sentence. So as you look at all that you've written there, just complete the sentence. This is the energy of, and then use the first thing that pops into your consciousness, that completes the sentence. Don't second guess it. It doesn't have to make sense, but that will give you a cookie cutter for each of those 7 questions. And again, you can, if you want to make a list of all of those 7, just like I said for the veterans, you can make a list of all the ones that you got out in completion of this is the energy of. You should have 7 of them. And when you look at all of those 7, you can ask the same question, looking at all those 7 things that popped out of you. Again, this is the energy of, and that will kind of give you your overall Spectre energy cookie cutter. And again, as ever, just use that to put that in the space in the MPA process, and remember to do all 6 lines out loud. You just need to be present with your experience. It doesn't really matter. You may find that you have a big release, or you might have awarenesses, or it might even be like there's just a sort of nothingness. It's okay. Just go through them one at a time. Do one. When you feel some natural completion, move on to the next one until you've done all 8. And that's how you bond it. That's how you get and you start to loosen up that inner spectre. So I would love to hear, well, I hope that makes sense, but you can get in touch with me. I mean, I would love to hear from you. If you've gone through this process, let me know what was your experience. You can do that again, same way you get in touch with me, all the other ways. You can leave me a message on the beabrillianthuman.com website. You can find one of the posts on social media, leave me a comment. I don't think I mentioned earlier, also on YouTube. I know a lot of people, in quotes, watch this podcast on YouTube. Again, comment section there is a great place just to share what your experience is. And, if you found it useful or interesting, share the love. Go ahead and tell someone about it. Tell someone about this show. That's one of the best ways we get to spread the word and grow the community. And again, if you are a relatively new or a newbie to MPA and you're kind of intrigued by this, remember to grab the basic training. When you download the sheet, you would have been told about it. It really helps you avoid all the common mistakes that I see people make all the time when it comes to finding their cookie cutters. And it really will help you make the most of these questions. And so I think that's it. We're at a wrap for today. Thanks so much. And I hope you've laughed along with me. One of those episodes today. And I hope along with the laughter, you've also had some deep insights. And maybe you've decided to pause it, go away, and this is the first time you listen to the show and you can go away and do it, in which case, go do it. And I hope it gives you some really valuable insight. That's me. Time to sign off. Big hugs. Have a fantastic week. And all that remains is to cue the moo.